What's up, everybody? Trinity here, and welcome back to the 2nd Street Marvel for yet another comic book review. But actually, today isn't even just a comic book review, it's actually a review of a trade paperback. And the trade that I will be reviewing today is World Reader. This is Volume 1, being published by Aftershock Comics. Okay, now the writer on this book is Jeff Loveness. Juan Doe is the artist. Rachel Deering and Dave Sharp are the letterers. Juan Doe does the front and original series covers, with Mike Ruth and Elizabeth Tork doing the variant covers for the series. And John J. Hill did the logo and book design. And Mike Martz is the editor. I will go ahead and show you their names right here. Okay, now guys, I actually got this as part of a mystery box from when I went to LA Comic-Con back in October of 2019, and you could probably see the box setting right there that it came in. And it was a pretty cool little box, had a lot of stuff stuffed in there, and I'm finally getting around to reading some of the books and bringing you guys some reviews. Now, I've got to say, Aftershock Comics has done a, they've been one of my favorite publishers here over the past few months, as I've kind of gotten to know some of their titles and things like that. And basically what's going on here in this book, this is basically 6 issues all in one. This is the trade paperback here. This book is about this character, Sarah, who seems to be able to communicate with dead people. She gets visions, and she goes, she can, like, I don't know, it's really weird how she comes upon these people, and she sees things that other people don't. Well, what she's doing here is she ends up becoming part of this fleet who are out scouring the universe, trying to find out exactly what's going on, as the world, all these different worlds seem to be dying off. All of these different races of life seem to be obliterated by this larger entity who we don't really know who it is. But it seems like she's communicating with all these people. And they all seem to have this similar story of this, like, godlike figure who comes around and seems to prey on them and ends up killing off entire civilizations, kind of in a one fell swoop, you know, just like that, you know, they all end up dying. And we can see that here the person, you know, like the captain who is in charge of this mission, was pretty reluctant to have her come on the mission with them, as he's there trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And it seems like they're trying to find out what's the cause of all this death, and maybe they're trying to, it seems like the captain here was trying to destroy life at the same time, or like he had some sort of different mission about what he was doing than what Sarah had done. And Sarah, as I said, she can communicate with these dead people, and she gets all these visions. Well, what we find here also is that at one point in her life, she had a husband, and she'd fallen in love. And these visions that she'd had were largely something that were unexplained. She didn't know what they all meant, and they kind of called to her. And once she actually fell in love and was married with this love of her life, a lot of that went away. The voices kind of stopped. It had all put a kind of a dampener on her senses, if you will. And it's something very interesting going on with that, as, you know, then her husband ended up dying, and she, you know, once again the voices returned, and she was kind of, you know, a lot of people were very skeptical of her abilities, but we can see there was somebody, you know, a higher up over the captain that's in charge of this mission that kind of said, no, you're taking Sarah with you, and she's going to go, and the captain doesn't like it. So what's going on here is that she keeps getting pushback from the captain. At one point on one of their missions, when they visit one of these dead planets, the captain says, no, you're just stay here, stay in the ship, don't be coming out here, kind of, because he didn't want her getting hurt, because when they were out on one of the previous missions, she had kind of fallen into this sort of almost like a coma, as she was visiting with, you know, she got one of those visions from some of these dead people. So they didn't want her basically slowing them down or anything. Well, while she was there on the ship, she ends up escaping in one of their pods and goes to another planet. And she was actually followed by somebody else. You know, we can see that there's somebody else who had actually believed in her and had probably taken somewhat of an interest in her as well. So she ends up getting to this other planet and comes upon another civilization, and she actually found somebody to communicate with, and learned a little bit more about what was going on. And she finally ends up making contact with this godlike being that has been going through and killing all of these civilizations. And just some very interesting things as she begins to talk to this god. They kind of get in a communication as she's asking him, like, "Hey, what's going on? What's your deal? Why are you killing off all of these people for what's been going on?" And he begins to explain to her that, like, he basically because what happened is they end up finding all these different symbols in this throughout that kind of, I guess, I don't know, what would that be, like monolithic type symbols. I don't know. Just I don't know. I'm not really good with those kinds of things. But he kind of starts explaining to her what's going on is he had basically been the creator of life, of all these different worlds. And he kind of shares with her what his pain was, as he had created a civilization and had been praised by these people as a god. But he had noticed that all of these societies, no matter how many he created, they all ended up kind of being the same, in that there would be some sort of turmoil, people being less thankful, people just really just kind of resort to being assholes. You know what I mean? I mean, it almost sounds like our real world, right? I mean, because how could you imagine that really any civilization is going to be different? Not all people are going to get along. Not all people are going to believe in the same God, and all these different kinds of things out there. Really interesting stuff. So as he was the bringer of life, he kind of decided, you know what, like, all of these experiments have gone wrong. So he decided that, you know what, I'm going to go through and take back all of those lives. So he had been going from planet to planet and pretty much laying destruction to all of them, making them all come to an end, as he was, he felt like all of his creations had been a mistake and just wanted to see them all come to an end. And while she's there talking to him, she's sitting there. She kind of explains, like, I guess you could say, I'm not sure if I'm using the right words here, but the human dichotomy. You know what I mean? I guess, like, that's kind of how humans are, or even other beings and civilizations, where there's always going to be some sort of unrest. There's always going to be discourse. People basically aren't meant to always get along. And it's very interesting. And if you guys know me here, you guys probably don't know me. I don't really talk about religion or anything a whole lot on this channel, but I'm not like a religious person or anything. I don't fault anybody for having any of their religious beliefs or anything like that. But I thought this book was a very great tale on just exactly that, why people have different belief systems that they believe in, and how really ultimately none of that really matters. What matters is that we're human, or whatever being you may be, that we get along and we can accept each other for all of our differences. And that's kind of something she explains to him, like, no, like, what you did was a good job. You kind of, like, you gave us free will, and we have these rights to choose, like a basic human right, if you will, or alien right, depending on where you are, to choose, like, who we are and what we love and what we believe. And she kind of leads him just to the fact that, it's okay. Like, what you did was a good thing. It was a good job what you're doing. You created all these beautiful worlds, and now you're destroying them. And really, that's really what goes on a lot in this book. Again, I don't want to give away too much here, because I think this book is something that was, I think there was a really good message in this book. It was a really good story, and it all seemed to go really fast as well. It was a pretty easy read, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some of the art here. Like I said, I think Jeff Loveness did a very good job on this. And I will say one thing, like with the art and everything as well. If you know Wando, I like Wando. I had read one of his previous series that he actually did all the art on and everything. Also by Aftershock Comics, called Bad Reception. This is where I kind of first seen his art and got familiar with him. And he has a very unique art style, as you can see in this book. Something like, I don't really see anybody else that does art quite like Wando does. In this book. but it's very, very good. He does all the art. He does the colors. He does the art itself. He does the pencils. Like everything here is all by this one artist, and I think that he does a very good job in his books. Like I said, it definitely stands out as very unique, and I think as an artist, that is something that is very good. You know, when you can find an artist that has their own take on things and has their own distinct style, as there are a lot of artists out there, and you know, we can see, you know, obviously some of them you know, resort to different tips and tricks that they do for their book, and you know, a lot of them, you know, you can see like some artists may not be they might have art that looks similar to others, and not all of them have a very super unique style that you can just tell just by looking at it. And you know, I'm sure there are plenty of artists out there that are, and you know, I'm not like, you know, like, how would you say, a professional comic book reader and read all different kinds to be able to tell you guys who all the different artists are just by seeing it. But I can tell you, I can definitely tell the difference in a Wando book, because his art is very distinct in the way that he draws the characters and everything. But I gotta tell you guys, I thought this book was really good. Again, it's World Reader, Dead Stars. Go ahead and take a look at that issue there, that cover there. Pretty good book, and you can take a look there at the back cover. But I don't know, guys. Like I said, for me, I found this very interesting because, like I said, while I might not be a religious person, I do find those kinds of conversations and those kinds of story threads and things like that that revolve around different people's religions and belief systems and things like that. I find them very, very interesting, and I guess that's just kind of who I am in my beliefs. You know what I mean? And no, I don't want to hear anybody say that you're an atheist or anything like that, because that's not what I am. I just, you know, that's not what I do, you know what I mean? But again, guys, I think this book is a very good book. I believe this came out in 2017, so it's a book that you could probably find at your local comic book shop in the trade paperback section, or you could probably find it, you know, online through probably through Aftershock's website, or maybe on Comixology or anything like that. I'm sure you can find that stuff out there as well. And I've really liked a lot of the titles that I have read on Aftershock Comics. This is, like I said, one of the few publishers I've found out there lately that's one of these small print publishers that's doing a really good job with their books and bringing the creators together to make the books that they do. Very good stuff on Aftershock Comics, man. I've got to, you know, my hat's off to them. I really do like the work that they're doing. But let me know down in the comments below. Have you ever read World Reader? Have you ever read anything on Aftershock Comics? And have you ever read anything else by Jeff Loveness, or even seen art by the great Wando? Let's talk about that down in the comments below. That's all I have for this video today, folks. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, click the little bell and all that good stuff. I mean, you know the drill. Come on, just do all that stuff. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down if you don't like. You know, it's all up to you. But make sure that you share it with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the Second Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week. Happy reading, and we'll see you in the next video. Later.